Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress, a Chinese drama romance from 2002. Now, based on the international bestseller, this film is set in the early 1970s during the later stages of China's Cultural Revolution. Now, two city-bred teenage best friends are sent to a mountainous region for a Maoist re-education process because their parents were associated in some form or another with Western culture. Now, the two see and fall in love with the local beauty, the daughter of the most renowned tailor in the region. They never really find out what her name is, so they refer to her only as the Little Seamstress, hence the title of the film. But she captivates them with her innocence and sensuality. Now, they eventually discover a hidden suitcase filled with banned books by Western writers. And then they read these works to the Little Seamstress for hours on end in a special secret meeting place. And thirsting for knowledge of the world beyond, she comes to love, in particular, the works of the French novelist Honore de Balzac. So that's the overall plot for you. Now, there are certainly a few themes to mine out of this movie. One involves the juxtaposition between urban and rural livelihoods. Another involves the desire for experiencing the many cultures that exist in the world. Another involves the importance of education in literature. And yet another involves the Maoist concept of re-education itself. Now, the online reviews of The Little Chinese Seamstress are mostly very positive, if you decide to look them up. But a few of the complaints that I've read seem to be focused on some of these main themes of the film. So, for example, some forms of Maoist re-education in real life were far rougher than the events that were depicted in this film. Another problem that I've read, or criticism that I've read, is that the theme of opening yourself up to Western literature has been associated by some critics to be like pro-capitalist or something like that. So I decided to do a little bit of research on this movie, and I found out that the director, who is also the author of the novel that this is based upon, is actually a Chinese man who attended Maoist re-education himself during the early 1970s, the very same time period when this film takes place. So I think that The Little Chinese Seamstress is practically a semi-autobiographical film in that regard. And the fact that he eventually moved to France, this director, should give you an idea about his opinions on these various topics. But the film is based on his experiences. It's the experiences of a man who was born in China and raised there during the Cultural Revolution. So I think that gives this film a certain sense of legitimacy, and also makes it an interesting watch for anyone who is interested in these concepts. I think that, this film is certainly a very strong film on a thematic level. Now, since it's set in the forest mountain regions, there are some gorgeous natural environments to enjoy as well. And since the entire film focuses on the protagonist's interaction with the villagers, it's an interesting cultural experience for those of us who live elsewhere in the world. There are also a few fun moments when our protagonists attempt to infuse Western culture into the village in sneaky ways. You'll know what I mean when you watch the film. So, when I originally saw this film, all those years ago, it was because Zhou is the lead actress. And if you're at all familiar with this YouTube channel, you should know that she's one of my favorite actresses of all time. And to no one's surprise, she's impressive in this one. Yi Lu is also in this. You may recognize him if you saw City of Life and Death or Postman in the Mountains, which I recently reviewed on my channel. Nice to see him here. I've always liked him as an actor. But when I was rewatching The Little Chinese Seamstress just the other day, it did not hit me as like an elite must-see film, like the titles that I just mentioned. First of all, I do think that this film has some pacing issues. The runtime of 1 hour and 50 minutes did seem a little bit long in this case. I found myself slightly less interested in what was happening down the stretch when compared to earlier in the film. So I think maybe they should have cut that back a little bit. Also, at one point, there's a pronounced shift in time period that was very kind of abrupt for me. It made that section of the film feel a bit clunky. I would have preferred that section to be rewritten to have a smoother transition and perhaps, a bit more impactful on a dramatic level. So those are kind of my main gripes on this. My memory told me that this was like a really elite movie, but when I rewatched it, the pacing issues and the abrupt shift in time period kind of were a little bit more pronounced in the second viewing for me. But with that said, I definitely recommend this film, which is widely available on DVD. Especially if you want something that's set out in a desolate area. You know what I mean? But I would say that Postman in the Mountains is a higher priority title than this one. So keep that in mind. And as always, I will see you next time.